What's going on, Jerome? So Minnesota Fighting Vikings general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah addressed the local media jackals after the draft on Saturday, and he talked about a couple of the late-round picks as well as futures of quarterback Kirk Cousins, running back Dalvin Cook, and edge rusher Za'Darius Smith. Spoiler, not really much. Not really much. So starting with Kirk, Kevin Seifert, who is not Carl Gerbschmidt, who's not, pushed Kwesi Adofo-Mensah on the Vikings quarterback plan after drafting Jaren Hall, 5th round out of BYU, an intriguing developmental prospect, but not an obvious heir to Kirk Cousins. Kwesi was more authoritative and left the door open for a Cousins return in 2024. Kwesi, quote, Kirk doesn't need to show anything to me. Kirk has played football at a high level before I got to the Minnesota Vikings. Last year we won 13 games. I don't know what he would need to prove to me or anybody else. Kwesi had not extended Cousins' contract. Sometimes you come to a place in contract negotiations when you decide, hey, let's talk later. This is a solution for now. That's all that happened. So that is what happened, essentially, where there was talks that, hey, they discussed things. There was rumors that a 1-year Band-Aid extension was off the table. Cousins reportedly had offered to take a discount, but wanted a 3-year extension, and they tabled it, and then they did the contract restructure, which freed up a little bit of cap space in 2023, kicked the can to a void year in 2024, and they could revisit it. And we said that this could happen, where if the Vikings didn't land a clear heir to Kirk Cousins, whether trading up in the first for a quarterback or hell, taking Will Levis at 23, didn't happen. But I do like Jaren Hall a lot in the 5th round, but he isn't the clear guy to take over in 2024, so they could revisit. Maybe they do come to a compromise. Maybe it is a 1-year extension or a 2-year extension, but only guaranteed money in the first year, so basically a 1-year extension. It's something that Kirk is playing at a high level. I think that he does have a couple of decent years left in him, but I just don't want to be holding the bag when Kirk is holding the bag, and then he turns into mush like Matt Ryan did last year and also 2 years ago with the Falcons. But then Seifert. Kwesi, we like where we are at the quarterback position, but every option is open to us going forward. We're just really excited about Kirk this year, the weapons we've added in free agency, the weapons we added in the draft, and we'll see what happens after that. And yeah, absolutely, the Vikings are fully building around Kirk Cousins. The offensive line, even though they didn't add any bodies, just having some health and continuity up front will be key. Addison to that mix, Josh Oliver to that mix. Overall, it's going to be pretty good and intriguing for this offense, especially when Kirk doesn't have to learn a brand new offense during this offseason. It'd be kind of nice, man. Kramer. Strib, any clarity on Dalvin Cook or Za'Darius Smith? Kwesi, quote, keeping communication open with those guys, like I said earlier, trying to find solutions for both of them and us. Will continue to do so. Dialogue will remain open. And with the drafting of DeWayne McBride in the 7th round, could be it for Dalvin. I don't know. I think it certainly gives them the leverage for a pay cut. I think that it's possible that he's traded for a 2024 draft pick, maybe post June 1st, so there's even some more cap relief. And Za'Darius, I mean, Za'Darius is under contract, so I don't know if the Vikings will just Bigfoot him and just be like, hey, you either play here or you play nowhere. Just really bigfooting and squashing him in that spot. I don't see that happening necessarily, but the Vikings do have that in their back pocket. But does he have value in trade? Sure. But I don't know, trades are certainly less attractive when they involve future picks. But Kwesi, the way that he added a 5th round pick through various trade downs in the draft this week, I think that he could do that, and the Vikings could start stockpiling some draft capital. Maybe they move all the way up for Caleb Williams, but we dream. On this year's draft picks, Alec Lewis, The Athletic, Vikings GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah said that the Vikings had a starter grade on running back DeWayne McBride, who Minnesota drafted in the 7th round. And McBride, the rushing champ for UAB, 3,000 yards over 2 years, 32 touchdowns, great nose for the end zone, and I think that he does mesh in well with Madison, King Kene, and Ty Chandler. Ty Chandler in year 2, I think, is going to have a really solid season. So the Vikings are completely prepped if they do move on from Dalvin, or if Dalvin takes a pay cut, I could see him sticking around, especially since the Vikings want to run the ball more in 2023. And then lastly, Seifert, who's not Carl Gerbschmidt. Meanwhile, Kwesi, said that he watched an insane amount of YouTube videos of Jaren Hall giving interviews, etc., to judge his presence. Hey, scouting via YouTube videos, one of us. One of us. That's an outstanding young man. I like to see him lead my team or any other organization I was a part of. And Jaren Hall, the thing about it is, like, people knock him for being 25. First off, if age becomes a factor with Jaren Hall, which typically 35 is when it comes to be a factor when you're a quarterback. If you get 10 years out of a fifth-round pick, that's a win. That's a dub, man. But Jaren Hall, a little bit older of a prospect. He served a 2-year mission. He is married. He's got kids. He is a very mature young man. He's a great leader. And you could say that, hey, maybe he's capped because of an older age. I mean, that's fine. I mean, he's a guy that's going to come in. He's going to fight for the QB2 job at minimum. I mean, is that where he's going to be? Possible. I just know that he's got a live arm. I just know that he has a great alpha attitude. I think that he's a very solid leader. I think that he's just, like Kwesi said, just an outstanding young man. I think you do get that from his interviews. I think you do get that from his presence. So I'm super fired up. I think that the Vikings got a great value developmental pick in the 5th round. And, Kwesi, obviously he made the pick, he made the decision, and he's fired up about it too. So there you go. But your thoughts are thoughts. Going through some of Kwesi's post-draft comments on the picks, on Kirk, on Dalvin, on Za'Darius. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.